That's cool.
Welcome in, latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Mike Bratton. Go by SEC Mike on the Twitters, but not tonight, Shane. I'm barking Mike, and there's cousin Shane, everybody's favorite cousin, who goes by Sick'em Shane on this one. What's up, brother?
Hey, man, what's going on?
Oh, man, we're about to do a deep dive on them dogs, Shane. I see a lot of dogs in the comments. They're pretty fired up, Shane. Their team's being disrespected. People forgot they won the SEC and had their quarterback not got hurt. They probably would have won the national championship. It's a big season for them dogs. You know what?
But you sure you don't want to talk about Texas? Yeah.
I think I'm good. Yeah. And hey, real quick, Shane, we like to dedicate these fall camp preview series solely to the teams as much as we can. But I gotta do a shout out real quick, Shane.
Yeah.
And yes, it is Beer 30. Cousin Charles, we appreciate you.
Yeah.
Shout out Mr. Sip, whose real name is Cousin Clint here, Shane. He sent us, because we're doing the dogs, this is timed perfectly. He sent us some cowbells. Here's a Georgia one.
Hell yeah.
And it's personalized for Cousin JR.
Oh, buddy.
So that's
JR Day.
That's going to be on, I'm going to pretty it up here. It's going to be on the set forever. And we got, and he's an Ole Miss fan, but even that, he's giving out Hail State, and he's got Cousin Sven on there.
Oh,
so that'll be on here. And then he sent us each, Shane. So I'll bring you one. I'll be seeing you here in a couple of days. A Go Vols cowbell. So I got one for you too, buddy. So
yeah,
we appreciate you, Mr. Sip.
Oh man, this house just got a little louder, didn't it? Next time I need a beer, I can ring the bell now.
I apologize. He's a Hail State fan, of course.
Oh yeah, he ain't giving no cowbells away as an Ole Miss fan. So hey, I appreciate him. I appreciate all the cousins hanging out. It is Cousin JR Day. Haven't seen him yet in the comments, but I'm looking forward to talking some dog ball with you here, brother.
Wouldn't that be funny? I mean, not really, but if this is the one he didn't show up.
He didn't show up.
All right, so as we like to do, let's quickly discuss last season. Shane went 11-3, 7-2 overall in the conference. If you count the SEC championship game, and why the hell not? I never understood why they didn't count that. But the games you lost was an all-time thriller to Alabama with the crazy Ryan Williams play, and I think a lot of people forget that Georgia was driving. They were going to score the go-ahead. Carson Beck threw an interception in the end zone. So, I mean, you were close there. Ole Miss, they got you. I mean, they just completely dominated. So that's the only one. And then, of course, in the bowl game, Notre Dame, Sugar Bowl, there was a terrorist attack. Kirby Smart's father tragically passed. I mean, there was, again, I'm not making excuses, but literally these are the only three losses you had. And two of them were, really by one play. And I'm counting Notre Dame in there because that was a fluke, not a fluke, but, a strip sack, what have you. So, again, this is a team, Shane, that is elite of elite. And for some reason, everybody and their mother is kind of forgetting that the Dogs are still roaming down there in Athens.
Yeah, I think it's just because we saw the Notre Dame game, and I watched that game not too long ago, and I still wondered what the hell. It's almost like somebody had money on it. It was just, it just felt fabricated that Notre Dame was hanging around in that ball game. Everything from the sideline interference to, quarterback being hurt prior to the game. It's just this was just kind of a shitty way to end. And unfortunately for them Dogs, that's the last thing people remember, and they're not giving them the respect they probably deserve. So yes, this is a football team nobody wanted to play. I joke about Texas. Hell, they beat Texas twice. We've been putting them on the pedestal, and the Dogs whooped them twice. We got to see one firsthand, and they didn't even have a quarterback. So it's the Georgia Bulldogs are going nowhere. And, they'll always be an asterisk by 2024, in my opinion. I don't think we got to see the season we thought we would. 2025, this is, I hate to say it, I've done it before, but it feels a little revenge-ish, doesn't it? It feels like, hey, we're coming for the whole world today.
Yeah, and it all starts, Shane, because of this man here, Kirby Smart. What an outstanding record. He's got 105 overall, 19 losses, 62-11 in conference play. And I did a double take, Shane, when I did his records against SEC competition. Ooh. I got Greg Sankey making the face there just for this gaudy record that old Kirby has racked up. 9-0 versus Kentucky, 9-1 against Auburn. The one time he lost to Auburn, they turned around and whooped their ass in the SEC championship for good payback. 8-0 versus Mizzou, 8-1 against Tennessee, 7-1 against Carolina, 7-2 against Florida, 6-1 against Vandy, Mississippi State, and Arkansas. He's undefeated against them, and Oklahoma, and A&M Shade. Got a winning record over God's gift of football, Texas. Only 3 teams in the conference that he's got a losing record against, and 2 of them because he barely faces them ever. LSU, he's 1-2. Ole Miss, 1-2, which he'll probably even that score up this year. And then the only blemish, the GOAT, Nick Saban, Alabama, 1-6 against Alabama. But he'll have a chance to kind of get some revenge this season in Athens. But it's just incredible to see the run he's been on up to this point.
It is kind of unreal when you think about it. I mean, there's some really good football teams on here that he is just – that Georgia Bulldogs have just steamrolled. You know what I'm saying? And I guess that one we're going to talk about it, that Alabama does stick out there, but – they ain't got Nick Saban down there to save them anymore, And
JD says, how the hell are you going to count Oklahoma and Texas before they join, but not do the same for OU and Texas? We did. We did the same. Sarkisian, we counted his battles against Bama and Venables. Venables doesn't have a SEC games other than the ones he coached last season, to my knowledge. So, but we did count Venables' record against Texas when they were Big 12. So we're counting all of them. Hey, OU and Texas, they're in the conference now. And I'm treating them like they've always been, even if we dog cussed them before they came in here. Hey, shout out Cousin Brandon. JD gave us $2 here. We appreciate you.
Thank you, cuz.
I'm late. Had to water the plants for my girlfriend. What? Make her do that.
He is busy. He's a busy man, ain't he? He's doing something for somebody.
Yep. All right. So let's get into coaching staff, Shane. I'm going to leave this up because this just took so dang long to put together, and it's so impressive. But Mike Bobo's back, offensive coordinator. That's one where, hey, some people are out on Bobo. Some people think, hey, it ain't on Bobo. He's actually been engineering one of the more, I think the highest scoring Georgia offense of all time. I believe Mike Bobo was the offensive coordinator. He's put a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL. And say what you want about Carson Beck. He's making $4 million or whatever at Miami, thanks in large part to being coached up by Coach Bobo last year. And we're bringing back defensive coordinator Glenn Schumann, who's one of the best in the business. So I love the staff continuity here for Georgia. It's, for years and years, Bama was the standard.
Yeah.
Now Georgia is the standard in the SEC. And while they do lose coaches like a Dan Lanning to become a head coach,
right,
they're not losing these guys annually like Nick Saban used to do. So that tells me, Shane, tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think that many people enjoyed coaching with old Nick Saban, but I think they enjoy coaching with Kirby Smart. That's just what I'm reading into it.
Yeah, I don't know if you could make that assumption. I do think that. Let me ask you this on that note. Do you feel that success, breeds opportunities, if you will? And even though Georgia Bulldogs have been extremely successful, when I think about prime, when I think about prime Saban, I feel like it was just a kind of a stepping stone for these guys to come in. We joked about it, rehab, come down there, get their name right, and then get back out there. Georgia, it seems like they have a little bit different approach. It's more of a family approach. You see some of these guys on the sideline. I think some of these guys would stay there forever if Kirby Smart wanted it. It just feels like two different animals, in my opinion.
It is, and that's not an assumption by me, Shane. Why is Jimbo got bad blood with Saban? Because he worked for him. Yeah. I know Lane Kiffin sucks up to Saban now. do people forget for it was several years where he would just troll the damn guy, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because he worked for us. They a lot of these people hated working for Nick Saban, but they did it because they knew it would get him another job. I don't think you're going to Georgia. That's part of it at Georgia, I'm sure. Elevate yourself, get another job. But we're not seeing these coaches. They're not necessarily rehabbing in Athens and then running out the door. I mean, Glenn Schumann's, he could have been, I don't know if you remember this, it was like 2 or 3 years ago. Remember the Eagles, they seemingly draft every Georgia defensive player in the NFL draft.
Yeah.
They tried to hire Glenn Schumann. So, I mean, he could be in the NFL right now, coaching up all his former players. But again, I think he must want to be a college head coach. Yeah. And he's taking that Kirby approach where he's not just jumping at the first opportunity. He's going to jump at the right opportunity.
That's good.
And that goes to what you're speaking of. I think they do got that culture right now in Athens.
Yeah. I mean, me and my boss, we don't get along, but I still show up every night at 7:00.
All right, let's jump into the returning production for them Dogs, Shane. Now, here's the only part I'm really questioning Georgia. And again, this is when you have an elite program, a lot of them go to the NFL. Mm-hmm. So for years and years, teams like this can overcome it. But 46.7% of our offense is back. That's 9th in the SEC. Only 11% of the passing. That's 12th in the conference. Rushing yards, a little over 55%. That is 8th in the SEC. Receiving yards, 50% as well, just over that. That is actually 4th in the SEC. But we love these big linemen, Shane.
Yeah.
Only 38.3% of the offensive line snaps from last year are back. That is 11th in the SEC. Now, it's easier to do in Athens.
Yeah.
Because you stacked up elite on elite on elite on elite recruiting classes. So I'm not saying the guys coming up are not talented, but I'm seeing a lot of inexperience, quarterback, offensive line, and even like our second leading returning rusher, Dylan Bell, he's a receiver. So we've got some work to do on the offensive side of the football.
Yes, but similar to a couple of schools, this is one of those, like you said, that reload, right, and you don't panic as much as, if this were to happen to, I don't know, 13 other SEC schools, we may say, hey, we're going to have a little rebuild. but the Georgia Bulldogs, it just feels like they're just changing jerseys down there. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And then obviously so many eyes on old Gunner, who again, he just started the Notre Dame game. You could say they looked shaky in that game, which they did. They couldn't really protect him. But to your point, Shane, hell, they beat mighty Texas.
Yeah.
And he had to be forced into action and play half the game. And he's the one that won it for him in overtime. So, there's good and bad with him. This is just his stats from last year: 440 passing yards, a passing touchdown, interception, 63 rushing yards. But again, this was limited reps against elite competition, SEC championship, college football playoff. So, I'm not judging them based on these numbers, but this is an excuse to throw up these new quarterback graphics I got here.
And they look great, Mike. I would tell you what, they look fantastic. Thank you for all the effort you put into these previews, man. But I'm right there with you. I felt like Gunner had his little flashes, but man, he got really thrown into the fire. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you talk about a high pressured situation. This offseason is a blessing for this quarterback here. And the fact that he did get a little bit of experience reps, I think would help as well.
Well, speaking of a blessing, Shane, we are blessed by cousin Rick.
There he is.
Just gave us $20, Shane. Georgia also has many blessings, Shane. One of the big ones, they don't play the Aggies. Beat the hell out of Notre Dame. Cousin Rick, we appreciate you, buddy. Thank you for all the support of the show. We really, really appreciate you.
They should do with them AI videos where Kirby Smart wakes up in a sweat thinking about the Aggies, then he realizes they're not on the schedule.
Aggies.
We appreciate you, Rick. All right, let's do defensive returning production. And now here, again, a little bit of the same deal, Shane. Now, again, a little bit different because we got a recruiting machine. We got a defensive juggernaut down in Athens, but only 43.5% of the defensive production from last year's back. That is 14th in the conference. Shane, tackles 45%. That's 11th in the SEC. Tackles for loss. Kirby, he's always harping on this havoc stats. He says, what's a havoc stat? Tackle for loss, sack, interceptions. Tackles for loss, Shane, were 14th in the SEC. Interceptions a little bit better, 62.5%. That's 7th in the SEC. Passes defended just over 42%. That is 14th in the SEC. Defensive back snaps from last year that are back, 52.5%. That's 12th in the SEC. And then a big one, defensive line snaps, 24.4%. That's 15th in the SEC. So again, we're sensing a theme here, right? Where Georgia's got a lot to replace on particularly on both lines of scrimmage. That's a concern to me.
Yeah, now this side I'm a little bit more worried about. I'm not too crazy. I mean, because there's some dudes out here. There's some probably future Hall of Famers that are going to be suiting up for the Georgia Bulldogs. But this is kind of a gamble. It's kind of like you're hoping that we continue the success that we've seen year after year with Kirby Smart, and most likely that's what will happen when we get to the end of the season. But again, a lot of new faces, not a lot of new places. You know what I'm saying? So I'm a little more concerned about the defense side, and not much. I'm not panicked or anything like that. It's just we're not talking about Georgia as the elite defense coming into the season as we have been in the past.
Right. An excellent comment here from cousin Sven, who it's not like he's this big Bulldog fan. He's a Bulldog fan, but Mississippi State, Shane. He says, hey, guys, Georgia gets 10 to 15 guys drafted every year. That's nothing new for Kirby and Georgia. So that is absolutely true. But the only difference in years past, you could I don't want to say hide players, but there was no fear of them leaving. And even at Georgia now, I mean, all these schools, guys are hitting the portal. If you ain't playing, we were asked yesterday about a guy, Xavier Sori over there at Arkansas, one of the best linebackers in the SEC.
Yeah.
He was a backup at Georgia. So he couldn't get on the field. He goes to Arkansas, he shines. There's a defensive back, Julian Humphrey, who again, Georgia fans are like, ugh. He's at A&M now. He may start. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not saying like you can't field a defense because you're losing a handful of guys, but if a starter goes down, sure would be nice to have these guys. And in years past, you had them. Now, when we get to the projected depth chart, Shane, it kind of stunned me, even at mighty Georgia, how many backups we got at critical positions that really haven't seen the field. So, again, that's across college football, and you have faith in Kirby and company to recruit and develop these guys. So I'm not saying they're bad or anything, but to me, they're unknowns, and I think it's fair to question that.
We wondered how the landscape would change with the transfer portal and NIL. And, a lot of people were quick to say Georgia didn't have that much. They got plenty of money and they got plenty of opportunities to keep guys down there. But, it's like you said, we don't see a lot of those fifth year, fourth years, seniors that are coming out here and filling up those rosters. And we're not going to get NIL's behind us. We're not going to get, that's list season. We're getting away from that, but I'm just telling you, it's hurt programs, elite programs. And that's why we have so much competition when we get to these playoff games. I think because it is a little bit more even, if you will.
Right. And I think the perfect example may be Nolan Smith, who came in as a 5-star. I believe some services, if not all of them, had him as a number one defensive lineman. I think one may have even had him as a number one overall player. He couldn't get on the field for 2 or 3 years. And I remember Florida fans just mocking, you go to Athens, just be a waste of talent.
Yeah.
And then he's a star for 2 years. He's a first-round pick. He's a Super Bowl champion. You know what I mean? So Georgia's had a lot of those guys.
Stetson Bennett. I mean, honestly, they almost lost him. And if he didn't come back, he would always have been on that roster if there wasn't if the portal wasn't like it was, I think. So the fact that you caught, fire the second opportunity, some teams missed that. And I think that's a perfect example of what you said as well.
Yeah, well, speaking of the portal, it's like you're reading off my notes here. So we got 10 transfers in, 18 transfers out this offseason. On Three's got this as the number 43 transfer portal class, but we rely, at least for Georgia fans, on 24/7 because right now they got him 23 in the transfer portal rankings. I love the addition, Shane, of Noah Thomas. He played at A&M last year. He was really starting to catch on. And you remember A&M, they had the quarterbacks juggling in and out. So even Noah Thomas, who, again, it's hard to be productive, right? When they're juggling the quarterbacks, he had in his career at A&M, 73 catches, 984 yards, 15 receiving touchdowns. He really started to come on late last season. They did not want to lose Noah Thomas. And then the maybe the biggest question mark with the whole Georgia offense, I don't want to say boom or bust, but Zachariah Branch, Southern Cal, when he played LSU, he completely outclassed the entire LSU secondary. This guy looks like $1 million at times, but 47 catches, 503 yards, just one touchdown though. So he's kind of a mystery, man. We'll see what we're getting from him. They stole, this one's for you, Burt Bielema. Your running back, Josh McCray, 1,300 rushing yards, 14 touchdowns at Illinois. So he'll come at Georgia and help that quarterback room. Some nice additions here, and I really like this guy. I have no clue how to say his name, Shane. Army linebacker Elo Madozi here, but he was an all-conference player at Old Army. So, again, Georgia doesn't need a lot of transfers coming in here. You just bring them in to kind of shore up some potential holes, fill in some depth questions, and that's what we got with this transfer portal class.
Yeah, but some big names. That's something I've not saying that we haven't seen with Georgia. They've gone out and got some big names for sure, but this wide receiver room, not only they got a lot of returning talent, but you got Branch and Noah, which how much I love that Noah kid. I think he could be super special, man. He may be, I'm not saying he'll lead the league, but it wouldn't blow my mind if he does because he's got the talent. And that's kind of why I'm not so down on Gunner, just because of all the pieces that they've added around him to help him out, which it feels like sometimes we've gotten away from at some of these schools.
And then recruiting real quick. I didn't work up a graphic or anything, but number 2 class in the country, Shane, number 2 in the SEC, landed several 5-stars. Elijah Griffin, number 1 defensive lineman. Isaiah Gibson, number 1 edge defender. So both these guys could see the field. Number 4 receiver, Talon Taylor. Number 1 linebacker, Zayden Walker. Number 1 everything on the damn defense here for old Kirby and company. So those are just some highlights of some guys. Again, you sign the number 2 class, you're going to have a lot of future stars in that class. But again, at Georgia, we don't necessarily need these guys to step into roles immediately. So I don't know how many true freshmen we're going to see hit the field, but I bet there'll be a couple. And speaking of Georgia's offense,
do you say now that they're number 2, do you feel like they're slipping a little? They can't.
We won't get into their business because there was this one guy. His name's Terry. Shane, had they landed him, they probably were number 1. But that's a story for a different day. So here's a projected offensive depth chart for them Georgia Bulldogs, Shane. And what's the best position group in my opinion? Now, again, I'm cheating this year because I'm throwing in tight ends with the receivers. And when I do that to me makes it, it's got to be the receivers and tight ends because I think we got the best tight end group in the SEC. Oscar Delp, Lawson Lucky. We mentioned Zachariah Branch, Noah Thomas, the incoming transfers. Colby Young's back, who he was suspended for much of last year. He got all that cleared up. He was really starting to come on. So now we got him back. Dylan Bell, not 100% what position he's going to play. Rusty told us, look for him to play more running back this year. But I'm throwing him in here for receivers just for this argument. But and don't forget London Humphreys, transferred from Vanderbilt, who he tore it up. He tore up Georgia's defense at Vanderbilt. They liked him so much. They said, let's just go add that guy. And that's what they did.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised we didn't see much of London last year, but no, you talked about the receivers. I think Dylan Bell, it's one of those guys that could be one of the most elite receivers to come back. I always see these damn lists that come out and it feels like they don't give him enough respect. And I think part of that has to do just with, I don't know. I have no idea what it has to do with it. Maybe he ain't got a cool enough name or something, but Dylan Bell is going to be an absolute stud. And then, like you said, you pair him with like Branch, Noah, Kobe. I mean, there's going to be so many weapons out there that they can't just focus on one or two guys anymore. So yeah,
Right.
Absolutely loaded wide receiver room and tight end.
Now this is interesting, Shady, because the running back's a little bit not as deep as I'm used to seeing in Athens, but I still got him as a number 2 position group because Nate Frazier's was awesome. He was all SEC freshman last year. He's your projected starter. They added the transfer from Illinois, Josh McCray, and then they got some talented young players, Chauncey Bowen, Bo Walker, and I don't know what else they got back here. They've had some transfers out. They've had guys go to the NFL, but I'm just used to just one stud after another at old running back for Georgia. And I'm not saying, again, I'm putting them number 2 position group on offense.
Yeah.
But I'm used to it being a little bit deeper here in Athens.
Well, and I'm used to it being the thing. I keep waiting. I thought ETN, when he came up, I was like, all right, we're back, and we didn't quite get it. We didn't quite get that. I did like the fiery side of Nate Frazier, when Georgia Tech coach came out and says, I don't even know who he is. And even though he offered him, what I'm saying? Yeah. There's a little fiery to that kid, and I absolutely love that. But, this is more about the department you haven't got to, and that's that offensive line creating rooms and making these running backs better.
Right. And again, last year, Shane, I mean, this stat still blows my mind. Georgia was 15th in the SEC in rushing.
Mm-hmm.
That should never happen under Kirby Smart. That was an abomination. So next I got offensive line. I knew you couldn't wait to get to the big uglies. We got Ernest Greenback. He's our only returning starter. Some very talented players here, like Drew Bobo, Micah Morris, Monroe Feeling. We've got some good players, but man, not a lot of experienced guys. And fair or not, Shane, I start looking at the backups. And again, this is not an official depth chart by any means, but backups, we got guys with 23 snaps. We got a freshman. We got a guy with 10 snaps. We got another guy with 10 snaps. I'm not used to seeing this at Georgia, where again, all these guys may be $1 million and they may just be young, but God forbid 1 or 2 of your starters go down. I mean, where are we at on the offensive line at Georgia? This is kind of shocking to me.
Yeah, I totally get that, man. And honestly, there was times last year I didn't like the offensive line we had. I mean, you mentioned the Notre Dame game. That left tackle was a vulnerability at times. So
right.
I am a little worried about that as well, Mike. But how you shore that up is being balanced, and something that Mike Bobo, I'm sure, is going to try to get back this year is a little bit more of that balance down in Athens, so they can't just pin their ears back and make these guys work their ass off. So I'm looking forward to that, but the coaches have got to make it easier. And, there's going to be some growing pains with this unit, but there's no doubt in my mind that they've got enough talent in that locker room to field a fantastic 5,
Right. And then speaking of talent, so I put in the quarterbacks last, but don't mistake that for like these guys are not good, but they're just kind of largely unproven in terms of elite college football. Gunnar Stockton, of course, I think he'll surprise people this year. Ryan Puglisi, he has not played a ton, but he's back year 2 in the system. And then they just signed another touted freshman, Ryan Montgomery. So there's probably very few teams in the country, Shane, that would trade their quarterback room for this one. Very, very talented, but I am putting them last. And again, it's not by a wide margin by any means, but we just kind of need to see more of them before I, as you always say in the damn comments, crown them. I'm not crowning them yet. You know what?
Oh, but if his last name was Manning, oh, Gunnar Manning would be all SEC. Get Steven back on here. No, I get that. And it's funny. We talked about position rankings this offseason, and I told you this could be one of those positions that we're sleeping on just because we don't know. And who knows? Gunnar may come out here, catch the world on fire. Ryan may come out. I mean, there's quarterback competition, brother. There's nothing sure going down here. This room is super talented. It's just we got to get some separation, and I think we're going to start getting that a little bit closer to fall here.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, Shane, we're saying, no one, I don't think anyone would trade their quarterback class or quarterback room for another. And Brodo, which is accurate, he likes to point out, well, we got the number one 2026 kid, Jared Curtis, coming in too. So, yes, of course, we're loaded down in Georgia. So he is certainly the future.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get to the projected defensive depth chart. And again, another thing, I should have said this, Shane, and this ain't, calling out Ole Miss or anything, but remember when we did Ole Miss and not just them, but some of these others where we're plastered with transfers.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that we don't have a lot of transfers on either projected depth chart for Georgia, because that's telling me that we got a lot of faith in the players we got coming back, because we know at Georgia we can get anybody we damn well want. So again, that should be pointed out as well as I'm looking over these depth charts.
I was just thinking, would you be the Jack or the Mac? I think I'd be Mac, right?
I'd be the Muddy.
Yeah.
But who's Muddy on this roster, Shane? That's the defensive backs. I think that's the strongest unit of this defense. Shane, with Dylan Averett, he's back as a starter. KJ Bolden was all SEC freshman. Daniel Harris, Ja'Cory Thomas, Aguero's back, and then we got Zion Branch to transfer, and Adrian Maddox, UAB, who I believe he was committed to Florida. And then Kirby just gave him a call, and anybody that gets that call that's committed to Billy, and they get that call from Kirby, they say, you know what? I think I'd like to go play in Athens. So this is defensive back is always a strength under old Kirby, and I think it will be once again.
I think Paul hit it right here, Mike. He says, Shane, you're playing nose tackle.
That's what they need, man. They'd be a dominant defense. Now, I like these linebackers too, Shane. CJ Allen.
Yeah.
One of the best in the business. Raylan Wilson, Chris Cole, Justin Williams. So linebackers, all their Jack, Mac, and money and whatever you want to call them, they're linebackers. But to me, they're elite down there in Athens. That's another thing that Coach Glenn Schumann does. All he does is get these guys, get them ready, and sends them off to the NFL. And this is the next generation that's going to hear their name by the time the next draft rolls around. And
this is the one group that I think more Georgia fans are excited about. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes you'll hear these big names and we always flock to the wide receivers and the quarterbacks and stuff like that. But I'm hearing a lot of chatter about this group from just Georgia fans in general. So, we were kind of a little worried about this defense, but I tell you what, you talk to a Georgia fan long enough, you won't be. You're thinking, hey, we're going to crown these guys at the end of the year.
Right. And so last I got the defensive line. And again, it's not like I'm saying they're bad or anything like that, but I just kind of like the other position groups a little bit better. But they're another one, Shane, where I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the depth chart and I don't know. This ain't the Dogs of old, at least the ones that I'm used to seeing the last couple of years that have been kind of the force that have led to that 2-year national championship run, and really should have been 3-year national championship run. It was all started with that defensive line, and we got some potential all SEC type players here, but are they as deep as they have been in years past? And that's a real question. And they also signed a ton of freshmen. So we'll probably insert some of these freshmen into this depth chart by the end of the year as well.
Oh, yeah, I'm just watching the cousins fight about what position I should be. See a punter. Fun story, quick story, Mike, and then I'll get off of it. I was a long snapper. I know that's a shocker to many, but I would practice with my brother, the Flying Hawaiian, and we worked all off season trying to get, perfect this snap. Guess what? I lost my job to my brother.
So you helped train him to be better than you, huh?
He was a lot better. And what was funny is he was fast as hell. So every time he'd snap it and they punt it, it was perfect. I don't know why we don't have more wide receivers doing long snapper, because his ass was down there before you knew it.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Well, speaking of skinny guys that don't belong on the football field, they got an outstanding kicker too in Georgia. Peyton Woodring, 42 of 48 career field goals. So he's elite. He's back for another year. And Brett Thorson, who got banged up a little bit, but he's all SEC caliber himself. So, just probably the best SEC special teams unit here in the conference. And we probably throw Branch back here at kick returner, punt returner, and he'll look like $1 million. You know what?
Yeah, if you don't know the name, you'll learn it by the time the season's over.
Mm-hmm. Shane at wide receiver, they're saying.
I get a lot of wide emphasis on wide receiver.
So, hey, biggest questions going into camp, Shane.
Mm-hmm.
To me, there's two that Georgia's got to answer.
Yeah.
And they're kind of similar. But where are we on the line of scrimmage? I think that's the biggest question looming over this football program. And again, they're going to have guys that can play. I'm not stupid, right? But
yeah,
we're trying to win a national championship. And every team that's winning it the last, 1,000 years, and even the last 2 years, we want to go back to Ohio State, Michigan, and then prior to that, Georgia.
Yeah.
It was dominance on the line of scrimmage. And that's one thing that I'm a little scared as I did this deep dive on Georgia, is I'm questioning today if they're elite. They could get there by the end of the year, and they probably will. But I'm right now here in mid-June, I'm questioning that.
Yeah, you're not alone. I think everything for this to be a successful season, that's the department we got to get right. And yeah, I told you earlier, I was worried about mainly the depth, the competitive depth throughout the year. But, again, we go, how many times can you stack a recruiting class on a recruiting class and say, you know what, I'm worried about, the number 1 tackle coming in here. I'm worried about the number 3 left guard coming in here.
Right. And again, we're grading on a curve here.
Yeah.
Right. Because just like last year, won the SEC, made the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
For 99.9% of programs out there, that's to be celebrated. They'll throw you a damn parade. I didn't hear one Georgia fan celebrate that SEC championship because they got their eye on the national championship every year now. Fair or not, that's where they're at. So you got to answer that question to get there again. And then how about, are we getting back to running the football? I mentioned that. I get it because they had Carson Beck. They had the guy who could throw it all over the yard. But I never in my life thought Georgia would be 15th in the SEC in rushing the football.
Yeah.
We gotta be top 5, I think, rushing in this offense. Well, we don't have to be, but I would like to see that. That's where I think Georgia, that's their bread and butter, defense and running the football. Get away from being super pass happy.
Yeah.
Letting Carson, living and dying on Carson Beck's arm. I don't like that brand of Georgia football. I like the brand that's going to beat the shit out of you and make you regret that you had to play the Dogs on Saturday. You know what?
And that's what if you gave Kirby Smart truth serum, that's exactly what he's going to tell you. I want to hold on the ball for 4 quarters, and I want to get my defense in and out. So that's the recipe for national championships, and that's the recipe he's definitely going to be wanting to get back to.
And then the only other thing, and this is to me is not a huge question mark really, but we're bringing in these transfers at receiver. And we're working with a new quarterback. How quickly can everybody get on the same page in the passing game? I have little doubt that will come quickly, but that is a question I got because we gotta get up to speed where we're at. We're about to get into the schedule. We're at Tennessee is our first conference game. We got to get them on up to speed quickly for that week 3 game.
My biggest question is where the hell's JR? We're going to have to text him or something after this. Make sure he's all right. Maybe he's just so excited talking all about this Georgia football team, So
right.
Oh, what a schedule. Oh, this is nice. You know what? I know Sankey gave him a hard time last year, but I think he gave him a blessing this season, Mike.
Yeah, so the over under 9.5 for the Georgia Bulldogs seems way too low to me. Mm-hmm. The odds to win the SEC a little, just barely over 3-1, 3.1 to 1, and odds to win the national champion 6.5 to 1. Those are both the second best odds. Only better odds is Texas right now. And guess what, Shay? Texas coming down to Athens this year. So we'll find out who's the real favorite here in a heartbeat. So schedule breakdown, Shane. Games that should be wins, games that should be losses, and games that are tosses. Let's see. Ooh, not. Hold on a second here. Sometimes I forget to upload things. Yeah, I forgot to upload it. Oh, well. So we'll just do it old school, Shane. Games that should be wins.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot on here, so brace yourself here. I got Marshall at home. Should be a win, obviously. Austin P at home. Should be a win. At Tennessee. Should be a win, in my opinion. Kentucky at home. Win.
Yeah.
At Auburn. Should be a win. Ole Miss at home. Should be a win. At Mississippi State. Should be a win. Charlotte at home. Should be a win. Georgia Tech in Atlanta in the dome here. So I got 9 games, Shane.
Yeah.
That just should be absolute. I don't want to say easy, but basically just count on Georgia getting those 9. So that means there's 3 other I got left on the table.
Should be. There's, I looked at Tennessee game on the road early. I think that one could be an interesting one.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying that because I love Tennessee Vols, but I just think the timing is really nice. But yeah, I do. I mean, I can't disagree with you. And if it's sitting at 9.5, I can't understand why I've not put more money on this team, because I'm with you. I'm kind of liking the over and not just being, optimistic here.
Well, that's because I got 3 toss-ups. That's why, buddy. So now they'd have to lose a ball, right, to hit the under. And good news, Shane. None of them are truly road games. I got Bama at home.
Yeah.
Again, that's critical, but still, that's a toss-up to me. Texas, again, at home, but I have that as a toss. And your beloved Gators in Jacksonville, Shane, I got that as a toss. So I got 3 tosses. Do you disagree with any of those?
Yeah. November 1st. I mean, I don't care how hard you will this thing. I'm not on that wagon. I think the only toss-ups truly on this schedule is Alabama and Texas right now. And I even say that jokingly, being at home. So I think this is a very, very, very favorable schedule for the Georgia Bulldogs this season.
Well, you know what else is favorable and you're going to love, Shane?
What's that?
Cousin Tracy.
Oh, come on, Tracy.
Just gave us $10. Appreciate you, Cousin Tracy. With or without Shane, the Vols take down the Dogs this year at Neyland. So I knew you'd like that comment.
Absolutely. Don't think it ain't going to be a walkover. I tell you that right now. Georgia got a lot of moving pieces. Tennessee's got a lot of moving pieces. It's the first road game for them Dogs. That one could be a very, very interesting battle. And, it's been a long time since we beat the Georgia Bulldogs. I'd kind of like to see it.
Vols.
And then we got another one. Cousin Rick, what a legend. This is for all the cousins that would give if they could. We are blessed. Cousin Rick, we are blessed by you.
Cuz.
$50 donation from the legend, Cousin Rick.
Big Aggies.
Aggies are always happy when they don't have Georgia on the schedule, aren't they?
All right, Shay, so let's break down the schedule here.
Yes.
Week by week, as we like to do. Marshall, they won 10 games last year. Did you know that, Shane?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Did they?
Yeah, they went 10-3.
Oh,
but they're getting a loss right out the gate. Come on, Shane. If you don't know, their head coach and basically all their players that are still eligible transferred to Southern Miss. So I think on paper you're going to look like, oh, the SEC champs facing 10-3 Marshall. This could be a game. It's not going to be a game. You know what?
No. And when I think of Marshall, I think of Matthew McConaughey, and he's getting his first L down here it's at home, right? Yes.
Oh yeah.
I think that will be a big victory, a fun victory. And I think this could be one of those that just reminds the country who the Georgia Bulldogs are. So I would expect, I don't know what the spread's going to be on this thing, but I'm
30.
Take it because the Georgia's going to run with it.
Yeah, we spent too much time on that one, so this one will be quick, Shade. Austin P at home. Get the heck out of here. How about this, Shade? Austin P last year?
Is this got that annoying coach? Is this the one?
I don't know. He went 4-8. They went 4-8 last year.
Yeah.
I bet you can't name one team that Austin P beat. And I bet you've never even heard of some of, if not all, these teams.
Let's hear them.
Alabama A&M.
I've heard of them.
Dragons.
Right?
West Georgia.
Yep, that is the Cyclones.
Utah Tech.
Utah Tech. That is the other Mormons.
And then North Alabama.
Yeah, that's what Chattanooga's brother.
That was their wins. So yeah, they're getting stomped week 2 where they travel to Athens. So all right, now Georgia's going to be cruising in the conference play. Oh, my only issue, Shade, is they may not. Again, this is Kirby, so this is not a big real concern for me. But remember last year, Ole Miss was just destroying people. Then they got into conference play. Oopsies, they were not prepared. So that's the only concern I got really for Georgia going into Tennessee. Of course, it is Neyland Stadium. Tennessee could be 2-0 themselves. They probably should be. Georgia's won 8 in a row against Tennessee, Shade. Last time Tennessee beat Georgia was, let's call it what it was, a fluke Hail Mary. That's what it takes to beat Kirby Smart. But, all that being said, Georgia's going 3-0. Get the heck out of here, Vols.
Yeah, this one's been a while, man. I think I had hair and wasn't wearing glasses back then. You know what I'm saying? So didn't have a kid. One of my kids wasn't driving, So yeah, there's a lot of things that has happened since the last time Tennessee beat Georgia. But man, what a game that was. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like we're getting closer. We're getting closer, but unfortunately, Georgia's just got our number, so I got to give Georgia a victory here, even though it's in Knoxville.
Yeah. So Georgia's cruising a 3-0 in my opinion, and they'll host Alabama in a monumental showdown. But before we get to that real quick, Shane, shout out Steven Up. He just gifted 5 memberships.
Thank you.
I wanted to do this before the Alabama game, Shane. He has gifted Chase Monroe, Scotty Fish, Chris Camp, Miss Terry's bathwater. And Demas Ardundo. You've all been gifted memberships thanks to Steven Up. Welcome to the family. What a guy Steven Up is. Even though this is Georgia show, he's stepping up. And
you can tell who's 6-1,
I saw in the comment, Shane, he said this is for JR who isn't here, but JR is here, Shane.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Off the top ropes. There he is.
We did a whole show for you, JR.
Legend, cousin JR has done it again.
He's back, Shane. He's back. Just as the show's getting good here. So shout out Charles Eady, Andrew, Daniel Lagoria. Sorry if I butchered that. I'm sure I did. Patrick Page and Donnie Phillips. You have all been blessed by the legend, Cousin JR. Welcome to the family.
Memberships in this podcast are brought to you in part by Cousin JR.
Yeah, we appreciate you, buddy.
Out a search party. Thanks for showing up, cuz.
It's Scotty Fish, $5, paying it forward. Props to Steven. We up. Boomer.
I like that name.
And cousin Cameron Williams gave us $10.
There he is.
Man.
Big Cam.
We appreciate you, buddy. Man, we are the ones that are blessed. You know what?
Oh, yeah, we are. Absolutely.
And you know who else is blessed, Shane?
Who's that?
All of us. When we get to watch Georgia host Alabama with both those teams. Got 2 weeks to prepare. Monumental showdown. I mean, it was. Yes. I don't know if people. We live in such a world chain where like when something happens, we overreact, and then the next week we just move on. And we forget anything that happened. Which I am guilty as can be on that. But I don't know if you remember, Paul Feinbaum said this may have been the greatest college football game ever played last year.
Yeah.
And then we forgot about it 6 days later, but what a showdown it was. Again, this is the only mark on Kirby's career.
Yeah.
1-6 against Bama. Demons need to be exercised. Even Greg Sankey can't believe it. 1-6 against Alabama here. But man, what a showdown. If it was in Tuscaloosa, and remember, I'm picking Alabama to win the SEC.
Yeah.
So I'm much higher on Alabama than most. Not this Saturday. Get the hell out of here. The Dogs get it done. We're barking. 4-0. Playing in arguably the best home field advantage in the country. I think that's the difference in this one.
Yeah, and it's funny that I was thinking about this game the other day. It was a tale of two halves. It almost felt like, like somebody gave me a 30-yard head start on a 40-yard sprint, and then like you're behind me I just know I've only got 10 yards to go, but you're going to catch me. That's kind of what this game, like if there were another 2 minutes in this game, I felt like Georgia was going to win that one. But the first half, you're just like, golly, Georgia sucks. That's what I kept saying, and how great Alabama was going to be. And I think this, even as fun as that game was last year, I think will be even more competitive this season, brother. These are Goliaths going at it. And, back in the day, this was deciding, probably who went to an SEC championship. Don't be surprised if you don't see these two teams like Texas and Georgia last year play again. That could definitely happen in this scenario. But yeah, good game. But I'm going to give it to Georgia. Just like I joked at earlier, Nick Saban's not down there now. So I feel like on that turf, EA Sports came out the toughest places to play. They missed. Georgia Bulldogs should be number 1 on that list right now.
Well, you have just given a gift, Shane, to cousin Steven up here. He says, come on, Shane, make it a double cousin curse. We just did it. You know what?
You're welcome.
All right, so game 5. Again, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Man, I was doing this, the research, and again, we all know it, but just when you see it all written down.
Yeah.
Georgia has beaten, remember I said that Georgia's beaten Tennessee 8 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
It's even worse for Kentucky. 15 in a row. Make it 16. Come on, at home. I know Kentucky can sneak up on people. A little bit of, very little, but a little letdown factor. If you do this, that's exactly what happened to Alabama last year. They beat Georgia in this all-time classic. Why? Like I noted, Fight Bob said, maybe the best game ever. Well, what happened the following week? Bama lost to Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
So now, again, that's DeBoer, that's Alabama. They are not the program Kirby Smart's Georgia is. So I'm not saying Kentucky's a serious threat, but we say it all the time, and I think people laugh at us. But Kentucky plays Georgia as well as anybody in the conference. I don't know what it is. So again, the spread's probably going to be like 24 points.
Yeah.
I might put the mortgage on Kentucky just to cover the 20. Like, I think it'll be like a 10-point game for some reason.
And he's motivated, I would love to see Coach Stoops smoking a cigarette there on the sideline. You know what I'm saying? Man, like you said, this is always a kind of a weird game. And I almost thought it was a gentleman's agreement that we're just not going to blow out Kentucky. That's what it felt like at times. But there's been moments that we've convinced ourselves that Kentucky has an opportunity to beat Georgia. This is not that year, Mike. I've got Georgia winning big, but they'll probably win by 13 points.
Right. Yeah. Something weird. And it'll probably be because they score a touchdown as time expires. You know what I mean? But
absolutely.
They'll cover. So again, here's another crazy streak, Shane. Next game, it's on the road. I know you love them Auburn Tigers this year, Shane. Georgia has won 8 in a row in this annual series. 11 of 12, 22 of 25. Good.
Jeez.
I mean, this is why, this is used to be regarded as one of the best rivalries. Is it even a rivalry anymore? I mean, I know it is, but doesn't feel like it,
No.
But this is Hugh Freeze and company. Maybe his job's on the line, or if he's even sitting on a warm seat, like I think he is. I think he's on a scorching hot seat. He cools it by beating the Georgia Bulldogs, Shane. That's how you get off the hot seat. They got all this talent. They got a crazy offense, crazy coach. Upset. No, Georgia's way to come on. They beat Auburn. And Hugh Freeze, he ain't going to win this damn game. You know what?
I don't know it, Mike, because I am a little higher on Auburn than you are. But, when you see the numbers, they don't lie. 22 or 25. It's hard to argue that's a rivalry right now. You know what I'm saying? This is a game that could be close, should be close. Auburn's recruiting at a higher level. I do feel like talent-wise, this is going to be the closest that Auburn's been in a long, long time. Should be a really good football game. Crazy shit happens on the plains all the time, but I'm with you. I'm going to lean Georgia Bulldogs here.
Cousin Brodo says Freeze can't even beat allegations. All right. Next game. Oh, revenge game, Shane. Revenge City. Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Comes to Oxford. Remember, that's the other one. That's Dunby as well. Of course, they rarely play, but the fact Kirby's got a losing record, he actually lost to Hugh Freeze. I think it was his first year, maybe down there. And then obviously last year, Lane Kiffin. So he's 1-2 against Ole Miss. Ole Miss could be one of the sneaky best teams in the conference. A lot of people, myself included, writing them off after not completely. I mean, they'll probably win 8 or 9 games, but I don't think this is going to be an easy game either. But I can't talk myself into this being a competitive game. Come on, Shane, we're marching our way to 7-0. But remember, I'll throw up Ole Miss real quick. There's a reality, Shane. If Ole Miss beats LSU, and they get them at home, there's an excellent chance this is 6-0 versus 6-0 down here in Athens. So, I mean, this could be college game day. This could be one of the best games of the year. I just may be underrating it right now.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen up to this point. And remember, we're doing this from Georgia perspective of nothing went wrong. Everything went right, and so can they lose this game? Absolutely. It's kind of crazy to see that Kirby Smart has a losing record against a team like Ole Miss, because we're not just talking last year's Ole Miss. We're talking a couple of games here. Can it happen? Wouldn't blow my mind. In fact, I worry that there's going to be a game that sneaks up on the Georgia Bulldogs, and this could be it, even though you lost to them last year. But best case scenario, Georgia's going to whoop shit out of them boys. it's personal, and I want to hear the locker room. Kirby's going to be absolutely – you talk about revenge. This is one of the top games on his list, brother.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Well, one of the top cousins on my list, Shane.
Hey,
Cousin Glenn Warsaw, Shane, he just gifted 5 memberships. Sooner in the South, Alejandro, Chris Turner, Dalton Barnett, and Brandon Byer. You have all been blessed by Cousin Glenn. Welcome to the family. We appreciate you, Cousin Glenn. What a guy. Yeah.
Thank you, cuz. Appreciate that.
I don't even know if Freeze has got a motorcycle, but Paul says he's on it right now.
I could see him on a bike, maybe a trike. He seems like a trike guy. Or actually, one of those the cool ones, the 2 in the front. He's trying to get some of these recruits and look what cool tool I got.
Are those called Raptors?
I don't know, man. I don't know what they're called. I see them all the time up here in the Smoky Mountains.
I was about to say I can see you doing that up there.
Well, I got one in the garage, Mike. I didn't want to tell you, but that's why I'm trying to get all these LBs so I can get on the damn thing.
All right, now next game, Shane.
Yes.
Florida Gators in Jacksonville. Georgia has won 4 in a row. They've won 7 of 8. They own the Gators, right? Mm-hmm. Last year, I don't know. Florida was looking good. They had DJ Lagway. They were having a lot of success. They were kind of corralling Georgia. DJ Lagway got hurt. And then even then, it was a tight ball game. Final score, 34-20. So, the final score was deceiving, but Florida was down to the 3rd string quarterback. I know we're doing best case here, Shane.
Mm-hmm.
Best case?
Yes.
Give me the Gators. Pull them the upset, Shane.
Jeez, what are you doing?
I think that you said it yourself. They dropped one this year, right? Yeah. And you also said they got the best damn home field, which I got no argument with that. So I don't know. They're going to lose one, I think. I don't think it's going to be a home game. I'm running out of options here.
I'm trying to see how old I was when this game was actually relevant. I was in better shape back then. I was at the late teens. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The hell no. This ain't the Gator show. That's tomorrow, Mike. Georgia going to smoke these boys just like they always do. We always do this. Hey, this is the year, and the smoke. Mm-hmm. Let's make this exciting. Lee Corso's not going to be there, but this is when he has the helmet. Then he throws it like the last second. We're not wasting our time with this one, brother. Georgia Bulldogs, they ain't worried about any of their rivalries this season because they own them, and they're going to own this one. Give me a big victory here.
Well, if they're not worried, that tells me I'm even more confident in my selection.
No, I'm worried
because they're overlooking
them. Yeah.
Who does this game mean more to, you think?
Who does it mean more? Florida. He's fighting for Billy's fighting for his life.
Right. That's how I'm looking at it. One team's fighting for their life. The other one's like, man, we're in the damn fast lane of the college football playoff.
That's it. Every scared Coach Stoops is scared. Let's give him a victory.
So you got
we are Marshall. Let's give them a victory.
No, we've seen the video. Stoops is at the bar right now. You know what I mean? But Florida's got the talent. I'm just saying it'll be an upset. I'm not saying it's they should lose this game, but I think there's one I think I found it, Shane. That's what I'm saying.
So what you're saying, in essence, is I got to pick a loss somewhere. I'm going to plant this flag with the Florida Gators.
Well, I don't want to ruin the rest of the predictions, but we can get to that.
We'll circle back around.
Yes, sir. But I'll make this one quick. Win over Mississippi State. Get the hell out of here. We couldn't run the ball last year. We're going to run for 1 million. That was probably why, this game was as close as it was. I think it was a 10-point ball game last year. Because Georgia was not committed to the running game. Mississippi State couldn't stop the run. All you had to do, run on these guys, and you'll run them out the damn building.
Yeah.
And Georgia will get that done. They'll be pissed off because they lost a 9 overtime thriller to Billy Napier the week prior.
Well, I would say this was actually kind of it wasn't a close game, but it was a competitive game. And it felt like this was where Mississippi State kind of took some steps forward. Appreciate the cowbells sent our way by Slim this year, but I'm right there with you. I think this is too tough of a football team. Mississippi State, we've not done them yet. They're probably going to sneak up and get a couple of SEC games, if maybe at least one. It won't be this one.
Yeah. JR's excellent point against Georgia. Lagway was 2 of 6 for 47. Just imagine if he was 3 for 7 for 50. I mean,
yeah,
they might have beat him.
They should have threw more. Yeah.
All right. So now here, this could be game of the year, right?
Yeah.
Texas, mighty Texas, Shane, coming down to Athens. What a game! And I mean, just looking at the comments, this is apparently the biggest rivalry in the sport these days, Shane.
Yeah.
Texas thinks they're the best. Georgia knows they're the best. You got to beat the best to be the best. Mm-hmm. And last I checked, Shane, I don't care. Arch Manning, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, can't beat Georgia. Not in the damn Athens. Get the hell out of here. I think Georgia's whipping Texas ass once again, like they always do.
Again, the streak continues, and one of the streaks we've kind of flirted with, but not talked about, is just home field victories. This team is just steamrolling teams that come down to Athens, and that's why it's such a dangerous place to play. If it were in Texas, I think I picked Texas last year. I think a lot of us picked Texas last year, but seeing what we saw, absolutely coming into Athens, ain't no way. Give me them Dogs.
Yeah, never again. You gotta beat the man to be the man. You know
That's
what?
Right. Matthew McConaughey goes down again. I mean,
and then Charlotte, get the hell out of here. That's a pick your score type game.
Yeah.
So
they still got cut off sleeve guys. Is that a thing or?
Oh, I think so.
Wait, is that who it is, or is that
I think his name's Biff or Buff or Bill, or it's a B something.
Yeah.
But whatever, he's gonna get his ass kicked. And then we got Georgia Tech in the finale.
Another one.
They're so broke, Shane.
Yeah.
They didn't even want to play this at home.
Oh.
They're playing it in Mercedes-Benz for a couple more bucks. But it doesn't matter where the hell they're gonna play. I know last year was an all-time classic.
Mm-hmm.
That was a hell of a game. Was that 8 overtimes?
Yeah, Haynes King.
So this one scares me a little bit if Georgia Tech continues to progress, but the fact that was a scare, I think that'll lock Georgia in. Georgia was eyeing the SEC championship, which they probably will be here if it plays out the way I'm saying.
Yeah.
But that was tricky, and that was in Athens too. So I don't think this is a given, like it has been in years past. But what did I say about the Florida one? Florida Georgia. I think that means more to Florida right now.
Yeah.
I think Georgia Tech means more to Georgia Tech right now.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a dangerous game, but I say all that to say they're going to lose by 4 touchdowns. Give me the Dogs, Shane. 11-1. So I think, again, I've said it before, Shane. I'll say it again. I just don't know anybody's going undefeated anymore. I really don't.
Very, very, very tough. Very tough. And you're right. I wouldn't blow my mind if Georgia doesn't find 1 or 2 losses in the schedule. I just think optimistically, if you're talking the ceiling, for them Dogs. The ceiling's 12-0, going undefeated, going to another SEC championship. I don't know how many games they're going to play at Mercedes-Benz, but just stay there. You know what I'm saying? It's another home field advantage for them, and I have the Dogs winning this Georgia Tech one easy.
So here's where my head's at here.
Yeah,
because I want to get back to this. Your excellent question here with Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, no Georgia fan wants to lose to Florida, right?
Right.
But would they trade a loss there if I could guarantee you that means beating Bama and beating Texas?
I just don't know why you didn't pick one of those. Those are more realistic than this Florida team you keep pumping for some reason.
Which of those three is not a home game?
Well, I mean, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's the game
right?
They can live with, but not really. Georgia fans absolutely hate the Florida Gators.
I don't know. I think you could convince them if by losing that, Florida commits to Billy Napier for another year. That's a win-win, brother.
You playing chess? I do wonder if you were to really poll a Georgia fan, and we got cousins here, you have to pick one: Texas, Florida, or Alabama. I would say it's Texas, then Florida, then Alabama right now. Wouldn't you?
No, they hate Texas. Because Texas in their big head and they think they run the damn league and all. They got I think they want that bragging rights that you may think you're hot shit, but you're not us.
Let's talk. Here he is, the legend. It's Florida. Florida's up there. I would say Alabama's got to be pretty close when Kirby's 6-1. You know, it's one thing to be 3-1 against Texas. So you're used to winning that game. The Alabama one you're not, and it's usually some weird football game. Usually something crazy happens in it all the time. So
because of Harry says Bama,
yeah, Bama is the first big one. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I get that, but there's no Texas on here. Texas hates. Here's one. Free Durden, cousin Durden here. What did he say?
Yes,
oh, shit.
Texas hates Georgia.
Yeah, where's he at? Yeah, Texas hates Georgia. They can't beat them. But we're power ranking the loss, which probably isn't going to happen. But if it did, which one could you stomach? And I think it's Texas.
Okay, well, that goes naturally into this then. Most important game.
Yeah,
I'm trying to do this different for everybody. Like we had somebody in the last one. We did the A&M, and they were like, "You idiot! How could it not be?" Two. It was a couple of their away games. Here. Let me throw that up real quick. It was A&M schedule. So they said LSU and Texas, I think was what they were saying. Yeah, that's right. Because I said Florida, Auburn, and were two that are on the most important. But I pitched it like this: if A&M goes 10-2, and they lose to LSU on the road and Texas on the road, every single A&M fan will sign up for that.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to accomplish with these most important games. But it's different in Athens, Shane, because again, it's championship or bust. Bama, I put Bama 1. I put Texas 2. I put Florida 3. Thoughts on this? Most important games for the Dogs.
I think Bama is important. I think I would change. The only thing I would probably change is I would keep Bama, I would keep Texas, and I'd throw Tennessee up there. And
of course,
don't even start. I mean, and the only reason I say that is it's an early game, and again, I worry about it just a little bit because it is on the road. You're looking ahead to that Bama matchup. You know, Tennessee's probably struggled a little bit with Syracuse, but found a way to win type scenario.
Right.
When you own a team, which they have here the last, what'd you say, 8 years or something like that?
Right.
It's you don't look at teams like Tennessee and Florida. You look, those are wins. You haven't beat Bama. I mean, you have, but most of the time you've lost to Bama. And Texas, it seems to be the team that everybody is expecting you to lose to. So those are easy to get dialed in for us. The games And I think about this with Georgia, the Georgia Tech game, the Kentucky game, even the Mississippi State game. These are games that if you were to poll that locker room, they weren't worried about at all, but they became games because you were overlooking them. So I think that could happen with the Tennessee Vols. So that's
any consideration to Auburn, who I know you're high on.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because Texas and Auburn, I would kind of rotate back and forth like 1A or 3A, 3B type deal. And the only reason I say that is, again, it's on the road. I'm expecting a better product from Auburn this year, which could lead to better football games. And Texas, yes, you've kind of owned them. It's going to be close. It's going to be competitive, but I don't think the whole nation is just going to say, you know what, Georgia's, they suck because they lost to Texas. No, they're going to say, hey, let's see what they do in the playoffs, But Auburn, teams like that, you're just expecting them to win, and I think those are the ones that are more pivotal this season.
Mm-hmm. All right, Shane. So, the last thing I want to ask you on Georgia.
Yeah.
Confidence, 1 out of 10, 1 being low, 10 being high. We've been saying playoff for a lot of these teams.
Yes.
But I'm not even going to bug you with that, because
they're in. They're in.
National championship for Georgia, 1 out of 10. How confident are you that the Dogs get there? 1 out of 10, 1 being low, 10 being absolute slam dunk.
7.5. 7.5 is where I'm at.
Okay.
I think this is a team that
probably a little even low.
Maybe. I mean, just crazy shit happens in the playoffs. Yeah. We've got a quarterback. Let's just quarterback situation. We're doing optimistically best case scenario, but if Gunner goes down, can somebody step in? I'm not saying I'm not wishing any injury, but this is a thin team at certain positions that I worry about. And if something bad happens in that scenario, yeah, I'm with cousin JR. I think 75% is a pretty good odds though. I think Dog fans are cool with that.
I think I just figured out you're JR. He's agreed with everything you're saying.
Yeah.
And then, hey, we had a bunch of donations, but I think everyone we did almost, Shane, was someone we already did their team, except for cousin Tracy. So should we do Tennessee on Wednesday?
I'm always ready for Tennessee.
I'm sorry, Thursday, because we got Florida coming up.
Oh, yeah, we got to talk. Hell, we've been talking about Florida every day, it seems like. Can we just skip that one?
Old SEC East week here.
Yeah, no, Tennessee, Mississippi State's up there. We're getting cowbells sent to us and everything. So,
yep.
You make the decision, and we'll roll with it.
Okay. Well, buddy, anything else before we hop off the line for tonight?
No, it's so good seeing you. And I'll say this, cousins, if you're not a member of the family, you don't have to. A thumbs up would help. You know what I'm saying? So minimize this, hit the thumbs up, share it, like it, tell somebody about it. The season's right around the corner. We're about to get it. We got some special stuff. We've been traditionally doing the same thing for quite some time. We're going to be doing some special stuff this coming up football season. So you're going to want to be dialed in for that. So make sure you have those notifications on, because you just never know when we're going to be on.
Cousin Paul says there won't be a Florida one. Cousin Shane will sabotage the equipment.
That's right. I've been trying to make it happen.
Cousin JR says he'll donate more if we do Tennessee last.
Oh,
and Liquid says, do we need to cover Tennessee?
Man. Cinnamon getting eaten.
JP's asking for Ole Miss, but we did Ole Miss already. So that's already on the channel. So go check that out if you need to Ole Miss one.
No, I appreciate everybody, man. It was fun. And I look forward to not tomorrow, but definitely whoever you got the following day, Mike.
All right. Perfect way to end it. I appreciate you. I appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out. We'll catch you tomorrow.
All right. See you guys. Go Dogs. Sick 'em. Oh.
Hey, buddy, this beer's for you, Mike, and Cousin Shane. That SEC podcast loves the Pirate, and the Pirate loves that SEC podcast. Hail State.